This interview is being brought to you by BabyFightGear.com. Baby Fight Gear is dedicated to providing a single source for children's mixed martial arts. Inspired clothing, the softer side of tough sports. Our clothing is available in sizes newborn to toddler.
Hey guys, it's Mark Anderson here of LateNightMMA.com. Thanks for checking out this video. We're going to continue on here with the UFC on Fuel TV 5 card. Now let's talk main card fights. And we'll get things kicked off here with Duane, Bang, Ludwig taking on Shea Mills. And Duane doesn't really like the name Bang Duane Ludwig. I had that problem once when I ran into him. He don't like that very much. So let's just talk about the fight. Duane Ludwig, 21-13. He has lost 4 of his last 6 fights, and he's coming off that knockout loss to Dan Hardy. Shea Mills, on the other hand, he just fought Rory McDonald, and his 5 previous fights before that were all victories, but Rory was just a little too much for him, and he lost that fight in the second round. I personally like Shea Mills. I think he did pretty good against Rory McDonald. I think he surprised a lot of people with his performance, and I'll be taking him in this fight. Next up, we have John Hathaway versus John Maguire, and this is a fight I'm not really sure on. Hathaway heads into this fight with a 16-1 record, and in the UFC, he is a very respectable, a very solid 6-1. John Maguire, on the other hand, is 18-3, and he's had limited UFC experience, but he's gone 2-0. I'm going to take a flyer on this one, and I'm going to go with the more experience, so I'll take John Hathaway here. Next up, we got Paul Sass taking on Matt Wiman. And Sass, 13-0. 3-0 in the UFC, and he's got some big victories. You know, he beat Jacob Volkman last time out, and he beat Michael Johnson too. And when he beat Volkman, he won that fight via arm triangle in the first round. Okay, Matt Wiman, he's 8-4. He is 8-4 in the UFC actually, and 14-6 overall. He's coming off the win over Mac Danzig, and he also holds wins over such guys as Cole Miller, and who else did he beat? Thiago Tavares. Good win there. But I'm going to have to say, I'm going to go with Paul Sass. He's an undefeated fighter, and he's looked really good in the UFC. The other thing is, Matt has been sitting out for almost a year. He fought October 1st, I believe, of 2011, and this fight card is going down at the end of September. So almost an entire year, Wiman has sat out. I don't like that. Next up, Brad Pickett. Got Brad Pickett in this fight. He's taking on Yves Jabouin. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name, but I probably did. Brad is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, and we got an interview with him that's going to be posted later tonight. Great guy. He talks about everything that's been going on in his training camp, where he's been training, a little bit in the UK, a little bit in the US. So check that out for sure. Brad is 21-6 in his MMA career, and he's gone 1-1 since coming to the UFC. He also holds big wins over Menjivar and Demetrius Johnson. So Brad Pickett's no joke, guys. Now, Yves is another standout fighter. He's won 3 fights in a row in the UFC, and he recently just beat Jeff Hoagland. He's 18-7 overall, and great fighter. But you know what? I think Brad Pickett's on a whole nother level. He's been fighting these guys, top caliber fighters, for years. And Yves is really going to have to step up his game if he's going to get this win. So I'm going with Brad Pickett. Okay, guys. Co-main event time. We got Dan Hardy versus Amir Sadollah. And Dan Hardy is 24-10 in his career. And he lost those 4 fights in a row. He came back and he made a statement. That knockout on Duane Ludwig was sick. And I think Dan Hardy's back. And Dan Hardy will be taking on Amir Sadollah. And Amir Sadollah has spent his entire career in the UFC. He's 6-3, Very solid. But I think he was given some easy fights in the beginning of his career. And I think Dan Hardy will take this fight. So I'm going with Dan Hardy once again there. Okay, main event time. This is the one everyone's wondering about. We got Stefan Struve versus Stipe Miocic. I butchered that name. And you know what? He was a guy that always did the radio show. Wasn't able to line up an interview with Stipe for this one, but he's a good dude, and wish him the best of luck. So Stefan is 24-5 in this one. He's won 3 fights in a row. He's won 5 of his last 6. He's coming off that beautiful victory over LeVar Johnson, and yeah, so he's looked really good. Now Stipe 9-0. 3-0 in the UFC. One hell of a fighter, man. This guy just seems to be able to dig deep when he needs to. I think his first fight maybe in the UFC, he got caught and you're like, oh, he's in trouble. And he just stormed right through it and he got the victory. And I think this is going to be a quick fight. I don't see this going very long. I'm not sure if it's a 5-round fight. If they, yeah, you know, some events seem like they're supposed to be 5 rounds and they're 3, like it's the main event. I was under the impression all main events were now 5-round fights, but I'm not sure. I don't really see this making its way out of the first, certainly not out of the second, and I'm going with my man Stipe. Stipe, like I said, just can dig deep, and with a win here, he's got to be near the top of the division. I don't know, maybe one more fight after this one, but he's got to be considered a top contender for the belt. So this was my prediction video, guys. Hit up latenightmma.com. Hit me on Twitter at Radio MMA. I love doing these videos. Give me feedback, good or bad. And give me your picks. Who'd you guys like?